So have you guys noticed lately that like everyone's doing a lot of talking, but no one's actually saying anything? Maybe that's an oversimplification, but obviously podcasts are a really popular form of media consumption nowadays, and it's because they're relatively
Potato chip. Oh, you can like hear the whole fan.
easy to produce. At most, you need a microphone, and if you're a celebrity with infinite resources, you can really up the production quality and even add a studio or visual component. It also works as an extension of branding. What's more branded than the product being just your thoughts, right? The podcast market is wildly oversaturated and has been for quite some time, but the problem is that they've kind of replaced the traditional interview format. I talked about this in a video over the summer when Katy Perry went on Alex Cooper's show Call Her Daddy, and this video is sort of a spiritual successor to that. So yes, we are talking about some podcast-related drama that has popped off in the entertainment and social media sphere recently. And since I have already invoked the name of Call Her Daddy and Alex Cooper, we might as well start there because Chappell Roan recently made an appearance on her podcast. So chances are, if you were on social media over the weekend, you saw one or multiple clips from this Chappell Roan Call Her Daddy interview floating around, and there were moments in here that made people really mad, and I want to talk about why.
All of my friends who have kids are in hell. I don't know anyone, I actually don't know anyone who's like happy and has children at this age. I have like a 1-year-old, like 3-year-old, 4 and under, 5 and under. I literally have not met anyone who's happy, anyone who has like light in their eyes, anyone who has slept.
Let's start with the more minor controversies here first. You just watched that clip of Chappell Roan talking about how her friends with kids are unhappy, and ooh, is that doing numbers on Mom Talk right now, guys? I'm not a parent, so maybe this will never touch a visceral nerve for me in the way that it would if I had a kid, but I don't find this statement to be particularly egregious, assuming that Chappell has a close enough relationship with her friends who are parents to be able to say something like this publicly. But at the same time, I get why it rubs people the wrong way, and I think that ultimately has a lot to do with both her tone and just how she comes off in interviews and the Call Her Daddy format. Alex Cooper is very calculated. In my opinion, she's not the most dynamic interviewer. She does this thing where she sticks very heavily to the cards that she's reading, and then she will overcompensate for the fact that she's very obviously doing that. You know, she'll ask this written out question and try to make it sound as natural as possible, and then will immediately overcompensate for that kind of like inorganic interaction by doing some like agreeable, overly validating banter with the guest as they're answering the question. And so it makes the conversation come off a lot more uppity and vapid than I think is intended. So what Chappell is saying here sounds a lot worse than it is, and I think the same goes for this clip as well.
Do you ever get moments like that of anonymity where you get to like feel like people actually don't know who you are anymore?
I think people are scared of me.
Really?
I think I made a big enough deal about not talking to me that people do not talk to me. I've been with people like friends who are like artists. When they're with me, they're like, it's a force field around us. People don't come up to me if I'm with you.
Do you
like,
love it that you said it?
I know it really hurts people because they take it really, they feel like it's me disrespecting them, that I owe it to them, and that how dare I call it abuse, or complaining about success. I get that a lot, but I'm not complaining about success. I'm just complaining about creepy behavior. I love, like, admiration. Everyone loves admiration. Like, I just don't want you to, like, interrupt me at, like, when I'm having a fight with my girlfriend. Like, they'll fucking be like, can I get a photo? When I'm crying, talking to my girlfriend. That's fucking crazy.
This is a clip of Alex Cooper discussing a boundary that Chappell set with her fans last year, asking for them to not approach her in public. I have defended Chappell for this in the past. I don't think her stance has changed much since the last time we talked about it, but if you take Chappell talking about this in a different medium, for example, like the TikTok she made when this was all going down.
I don't give a fuck if you think it's selfish of me to say no for a photo or your time or for a hug. That's not normal. That's weird. It's weird.
And compare it to this clip, the conversation again comes off a little less grounded and a little more out of touch, as opposed to when she's like very clearly distressed and pleading directly with her audience to leave her alone. You know what I mean? So those are the two minor controversies from this interview, but we have yet to get to the major controversy that came from this whole moment over the weekend, and it's probably a moment that you have seen clipped out of context on your Twitter feed.
How can these girls tour, write, perform, interview, sleep, and eat and fucking work out and like how can they do it all and lead a team and be a boss and pay people and like and be like fucking so politically educated? It's exhausting. And it's also impossible. Also, why the fuck are you looking to me for some political answer? You think I have the fucking answer?
But you're like, listen to my song, bitch. Turn it up.
Like, I'm a pop star. I wish I had the answers. I wish the president was a pop star. But she's not.
So this is the clip that has been traveling, but it's interesting to me that the first part of what she says here, that in my opinion recontextualizes that statement, is always conveniently left out of what's being clipped.
Because I'm gay and I should be more politically correct about that and I should actually be way more knowledgeable about it. And so I get asked a lot of fucking crazy questions that a lot of my peers would not get asked. And that's because I'm gay. And that's because, like, I have, like, my opinions, but that doesn't mean I'm, like, completely, like, I don't know everything about every topic I have opinions on. Like, I don't know everything about, like, being gay. Like, I don't know everything about being a woman. I don't know everything about fucking fashion or drag or performing. Like, I try to know everything I can, but, like, when I don't answer a question correctly or, like, I don't acknowledge one community, it's like, how can I do it all? Like, you can't.
The interesting thing to me right off the bat is that every time I've seen this clip out of context, it's always played at the part that's like, it is so hard to tour and write and sleep and eat and be politically educated. And the part that I have not seen until right now is right before that, when she says that she gets held to a different standard than other people in the music industry and is asked about different things and whatever, because she's gay, because she's been like outwardly and expressly political in the past, and then kind of goes into this separate kind of diatribe about how she has all the answers, right? I feel like if you put it, and this is what I assumed, into full context, it makes more sense. I think she just doesn't articulate the best. And I think people are expecting her to be 100% articulate all the time because she's being tokenized as, you know, the socially progressive pop star. I think that's what it is. If she was political in the past and now she doesn't have time, it's obviously trying to keep her status in effect. But I don't think that's what she's saying. She's not saying she's not going to be political anymore. She's just saying that she gets held to a different standard because she's been political in the past. Right? Am I not understand? Sometimes I feel like I understand things differently than other people do. So, like, I'm actually glad that I'm having this conversation because I don't know. I guess I just interpret things differently. So Chapel begins this part of the conversation by talking about how because she's gay and often gets tokenized as the gay pop star, people expect different things of her than they do from her contemporaries in terms of being outwardly political. Then she talks about how she is not educated on every single issue, and then she talks about how it's impossible to be educated on every single issue and still have to, like, function as a human being, which to me makes more sense in context than just that one clip that serves as the very end of that thought. This is my issue with the podcast clip economy, because a lot of times people are not reacting to statements in the way that they're meant to be taken. They just consume them independently in these bite-sized chunks, or worse, they read a juicy headline in a Pop Crave tweet and form their opinion based on that selected or edited piece of information. But these podcast companies want that. Alex Cooper wants these clips to travel the internet far and wide because it draws people into the full product in some capacity, even if they just watch a little bit of it. It's a complex feedback loop that is not compatible with giving people the benefit of the doubt, something that nobody wants to do when it comes to Chapel Roan in the first place. And Chapel to me has never been the most articulate and gets hurt by the fact that she often has to over-explain herself or is sometimes deliberately misinterpreted. But I do also understand the other side of it, where it was Chapel herself who incorporated politics as part of her brand since she first started getting really popular, whether it be being outspoken for trans rights and LGBTQ rights, or refusing to perform at the White House over the Biden administration's foreign policy. People have also not forgiven her for the fact that she did not outright endorse Kamala Harris, and presumably this has just always been because of the Biden-Harris administration's stance on Israel, but she never, like, clearly articulated that, which is how we end up with the "there's bad people on both sides" comment. I do think if you're a pop star and you end up incorporating, like, I don't know, political speech as part of your brand, then you are unfortunately going to be expected to clarify your positions on stuff like this. I really just think it boils down to the fact that she is a leftist who is afraid of saying the wrong thing, and so because she's not specific, people will fill in the gaps with what she's not saying, you know what I mean? So, I've said this before, but I think it's important to remember, too, when talking about this kind of situation, is that celebrities and politics, pop culture and politics, like, those are two different things. They have overlap, but they are distinctly different, and I think a lot of this, like, really kind of, like, feral online rage stems from the fact that, like, this is a very confusing time to be alive. None of us know what's coming next. It's very scary, and we have a lot of rage, and we have nowhere to put it, and we tend to channel it toward things that we do understand, rather than things that we don't understand. And so, like, getting really mad at Chapel Roan, and I'm not saying that you can't, like, you know, you can disagree with what Chapel Roan's been saying, but, like, getting really, like, legitimately angry over it, in some cases, I feel like is a symptom of a larger problem, where, like, we're just putting energy toward things that we can, like, comprehend, and, like, comprehend why we're mad at them. Like, Chapel Roan said something that kind of sucks is way easier to understand than, like, red line go down in the stock market today, you know? Like, be up to date about what celebrities are saying, and, you know, be passionate about, like, the things that you care about, you know, even if they are in the entertainment world. That's why I'm here, right? That's what I do. But also, like, learn what a tariff is. I'm just saying, like, you can do both. You can channel your energy toward both if you're not doing that already. I also think, and this is something that I talked about on my stream the other night as well, is, like, if you dislike Chapel Roan, I understand why she comes off unlikable to a lot of people. I feel like we haven't seen anybody like her with this level of mainstream success in a really long time. And, like, I understand why she bothers people. I understand why she rubs people the wrong way. And maybe she doesn't for you. Every single person is, like, gonna be different. But I would rather people be like, I don't like her tone, I don't like the way that she comes off, I don't like how she's always, like, bitter about everything or whatever. Because those are just, like, I don't know, one-off, relatively harmless observations that you can make about a person, as opposed to, like, wow, I never liked this person, and now I feel socially vindicated because a lot of people are shitting on her online right now. Like, it's cool to shit on her online, and now I feel morally righteous for disliking her all along, right? Like, you're turning your dislike of a person into, like, a commodified trend. I don't like that shit. You don't need, like, a morally righteous reason to dislike someone, because I think that tendency, like, warps our view of, like, social politics in general in a way that is really unfair. Sometimes you're just, like, not gonna like a person's vibe, and I respect people more for saying that than, like, making it into a social justice thing, you know what I mean? Or alternatively, just, like, making arguments in bad faith. If I see one more Chapel Roan as a Republican argument, like a secret Republican argument, like, that just, you don't understand anything. You don't understand how anything works if that's the conclusion that you're coming to. Just because it sounds smart and somebody, you know, got 40K likes on Twitter for, like, making that observation, that Chapel Roan, a queer woman, who is from, like, a southern state, is secretly a Republican because she has a Republican senator uncle or whatever. Like, I don't know, maybe reevaluate. Didn't mean southern, I meant Midwest. She's from the Midwest. Sorry. I sometimes I talk bad. Anyway, one last thing here is, I feel like this is what I wanted to articulate, but I actually didn't say it when I was, like, recording on camera before. Chapel Roan is not the reason why we are in this mess. Like, you can argue that, like, you know, her attitude, maybe, this is not the opinion that I hold, but it's the opinion that some people hold, toward her, like, you know, how she viewed Kamala Harris in this last election cycle, like, you could make the argument, I guess, that that is part of the reason why we are where we are right now, but like, she's not the reason. There are so many bigger systems at play, beyond like whatever she says. Anyway, moving on, let's talk about Khloe Kardashian and Remy Bader now, thanks.
Back went out, I was in bed for like a month.
Wow.
Like I was like, if I even like turned a little, I would like scream in pain. I would here and there when I could go to, I don't know, fashion events, or I had friends' weddings and things, and I would literally bring Dr. Scholl's shoes because I could not stand in my heels, and I was wearing like gowns with these shoes because I was in so much pain. My knees were going out. Couldn't leave the hospital. I couldn't swallow water. I was like projectile vomiting. Like I was just like, they don't let you leave if you can't drink water. I was so sick. I was in recovery for hours after, like in the recovery room.
I want to switch gears a little bit here because Alex Cooper is a celebrity who is famous because of her podcast, but now I want to talk about celebrities who just happen to be podcasters and how that's causing a whole host of problems on its own. So the clip you just watched is of an influencer named Remy Bader, who used to be known for plus-sized clothing try-on hauls and more relatable fashion content. In recent months, Remy has lost a lot of weight, and her followers have pointed this out in her comments asking if she's on Ozempic or if she received some kind of weight loss surgery. According to her followers, she has largely ignored these comments or gone as far as to block people for even asking about it. Recently, Remy opened up about the reasons behind her weight loss journey on Khloe Kardashian's podcast of all places, revealing that she did in fact have bariatric surgery. Now, this is sort of an interesting dynamic because it's an influencer who at one point built their whole platform off of authenticity and realistic, try-on hauls, talking to a member of the Kardashian family, one of the most notoriously vapid, out-of-touch, and inauthentic institutions in mainstream entertainment. We'll talk about the actual content of this conversation in a second, but first, the optics of this are clearly very strange. Khloe is not exactly an engaging host or podcaster. She barely looks like she's interested in listening to Remy talk about this topic. But she's like feigning this raw, we're having a deep, vulnerable conversation energy because every podcast has to be a Call Her Daddy clone now. And it's already rough watching Alex Cooper do her own shtick, but it's even worse watching Khloe Kardashian attempt to imitate it, you know what I mean? As for Remy, she's gotten a ton of backlash for this podcast appearance for a lot of reasons. The first being that while generally speaking it's no one's business what you choose to do with your body or your health, Remy built her whole platform off of being a relatable plus-sized influencer and then was not honest about the fact that she underwent a medical procedure to lose weight, with many of her fans feeling lied to. So one day you're doing plus-size clothing try-ons in your bedroom, and then the next you're talking with Khloe Kardashian about your very personal journey with your new body, while she pretends to give a shit. It's all very cold and unfeeling, and the issue is that they're trying to pretend it's this real and deep conversation. It's like a weird bit of meta performance theater. And again, I just hate how this has all replaced the concept of a traditional interview. I've talked about this in videos before. Not that I think Remy Bader would ever, maybe in another, life, in another decade, she would do one of those, daytime talk show TV tell-alls about her weight loss surgery or whatever. But I hate that there's, no middle ground between, a super formalized interview and something that is, casual, but it's really just, a dressed-up kind of, branded podcast in, a more, chill, Call Her Daddy-esque format, you know what I mean? I just feel like celebrities need to get more comfortable with actual journalists interviewing them again. I hate that everything is so branded now, because it all just gets treated as content instead of information that a person should know, right? It gets treated as not a fact that is being dictated through means of disseminating information, but rather just a piece of material that some bozo with a microphone can comment over. And it's up to that person whether or not they want to include the full context of the situation. Which brings me to my last story of the day. Keke Palmer is apparently going to interview Jonathan Majors. So over the weekend, it was announced that Jonathan Majors, who was found guilty of 1 count of assault and 1 count of harassment against his ex-girlfriend Grace Jabari back in 2023, will be making an appearance on Keke Palmer's podcast, Baby, It's Keke Palmer. The conversation will be released to the public on April 8th, and it's titled No Easy Answers, Accountability and Moving Forward with Jonathan Majors. The episode description reads, accountability. It's a loaded word, right? We're living in a time where we want real accountability, especially for things men have gotten away with for far too long. At the same time, finding forgiveness feels harder than ever, and we're still figuring out what true accountability even looks like. Today, we're sitting down with Jonathan Majors to talk about what life has looked like after being convicted of harassment and assault. This conversation isn't here to give you all the answers. It's complicated, it's messy, but hopefully it brings us a little closer to understanding the complex emotional landscape of the time we're living through. Now, I adore Keke Palmer. I always have. I think she's super talented, and unlike Khloe Kardashian or Alex Cooper, I actually think she is a really charismatic interviewer and can carry a conversation in that way. But unfortunately, that is not the skill set that you need when interviewing an actor who was found guilty of a violent crime. People don't understand this because they think that all celebrities can do it, but interviewing is a really difficult skill, especially if the dynamic is inherently contentious. There are seasoned journalists that I think could handle this kind of discussion with Jonathan Majors, but that's not what this is. Keke is obviously going to be very friendly to him, otherwise he probably wouldn't do it. And the framing of this discussion as taking accountability is a little weird to me because it places the gravity of what he did in the context of like cancellation and working on yourself and other forms of modernized therapy speak. But this is just too serious of a subject for that framing to begin with, because to me taking accountability in this specific context means that he's already been forgiven. And I just feel like that's not the right tone to do an interview like this with. And then we know what happens, right? Bits and pieces of this longer interview will make their way through various parts of the online ecosystem, clipped out of context or perhaps with another commentator talking over it, and then everybody's points get lost in the void in the most annoying game of telephone imaginable. Do I think there's a solution here? No, because podcasts are a lucrative format for everyone involved, and ultimately the celebrities who go on them have more say over how their image is portrayed as opposed to a traditional journalistic interview. It's a win-win for everyone, except for the people watching at home. Thanks for watching, you guys. If you haven't seen these two videos here that I made, I posted them the last 2 Fridays, and I guess Friday is just like a bad luck day for me, because they're not doing like as well as I would like them to, so if you haven't seen them, go watch them. They're good. Thanks so much. Go Yankees, and I'll see you next time. Let's go.
Let's go.
Best team in baseball, baby.
Yeah.
Best team in baseball.
This team
Let's
totally
go.
doesn't make me severely mentally ill. Let's go.
Subscribe to Brian's Yankees YouTube channel. Thanks, bye.
A massive toy giveaway, so make sure to stay tuned in this video. The Kennedys are back in a major way, okay? We have John Schlossberg, who is a Kennedy and is my favorite Kennedy, and probably your favorite Kennedy. We also have RFK Jr. We're gonna go on to the next one. We have Kennedy Walsh, love her, Kennedy Urick, and there was also a time in which we once had Taylor Swift Kennedy. Let's just insert another picture of John Schlossberg for the people. You're welcome. I do not have my tongs. My tongs are packed away. This is really, really hard news for me to tell you guys. I'm packing because I'm moving. This is the last time that I'm ever doing a chronically online girl video on this wall because I'm gonna keep doing it at my new apartment, duh. No, it's very, very sad. I will miss this apartment so much. You guys can watch my other videos. I have been talking about me moving for quite some time. I know you guys will miss this wall so severely. I will not miss patching up the holes in this wall after I take off all the frames. Believe me, because the holes are there and they are severe. Unless you're my landlord, then no, they're not. Literally, people were coming to view this apartment and I had these photos up. And I literally just said to them, don't ask me about the pictures on my wall in my bedroom. It's for work, and I never explain myself. Thank you so much for all the good memories with this wall. It will be missed, it will be cherished, it will live forever on my channel. But we are on to new things. My friends at BlahSrah and I are sending out free vibrators or gift cards for vibrators for everyone who signs up to my giveaway. Thank you so much, BlahSrah, for sponsoring today's video. BlahSrah is a bi-woman company for all things sexual wellness. BlahSrah's mission is for everybody to embrace, explore, and celebrate their own sexuality. And hello, season's greetings. BlahSrah is not playing around this winter, okay? Although I did recently get a new car because mine did get hit by a bus, this is the key vibe. It is a partner toy with a hidden vibrator remote so that nobody will ever be able to know what this is. It's a smooth silicone design and it's also magnetic, so fits naturally in your underwear. Rechargeable, wearable, waterproof, and it's discreet. Moving on, the G-Stroking Rapid, designed to deliver intense satisfaction with its dual action stimulation. Made from luxurious, body-safe silicone, featuring 5 unique vibration modes. I get this, 5 rhythmic come-hither modes. Okay, perfect for solo play or for an adventurous night with a partner. I am blushing. Okay, now this is an advent calendar. This is the 12-day holiday advent calendar. I'll open a few things. Let's open day 1. Oh! Let's open a let. Glass blowing is a very fine art. I'm not opening anything else because I don't want to spoil the fun for everyone else. This features bestsellers all the way to new vibes. This retails for $619, but you can get it for $249. And finally, the Whisper Bullet. The Whisper Bullet is the world's first silent bullet vibrator. BlahSrah's new Whisper Tech makes sure that you don't have to choose between discretion and power. You can put your pleasure first without waking up the entire house, okay? Let's test it out. You can't hear anything, right? It's powerful, yet somehow completely quiet. I don't get it, but I love it. Now the big question is, it will stay silent. But can you? Make sure you click the link in my description so that you can get your free toy or your free gift card for toys. Thank you so much, BlahSrah. Let's get started. Today's like a real-ass history lesson. So John Bouvier, aka Jack Kennedy Schlossberg, is an American writer and political correspondent, and also the grandson of JFK. I promise this is all going to come together. He is the internet's new baby girl. A baby girl has been spotted endorsing Kamala Harris. Baby girl was pouring milk all over himself on top of the Rocky Steps in Philly. I don't know why I missed that. And baby girl has also been seen on Raya. So naturally opposite of baby girl is evil, decrepit, sinister, old fucking man. So we're talking about RFK Jr., who's now the new head of health and human services. I don't know how the fuck we are living in this world. If you really want to be jump scared, go into his Instagram and see which one of your friends is following him if you just like really want to ruin your day. So he is the nephew of JFK. We all know JFK, right? Former president who had a thing with Marilyn Monroe. If you didn't know, there are some changes that RFK Jr. can make as the HHS secretary, such as vaccines and whether or not we can get them. This man really loves raw milk, unpasteurized raw milk. This is also the same man who about a decade ago left a bear cub carcass in Central Park. I can't believe those are real words coming out of my mouth. He's a conspiracy theorist who was also a third-party candidate who a lot of his own family, came forward and said that they are not voting for him. And he also admitted that a worm ate part of his brain and that he once ate a barbecued dog. But he said it was a ghost. So the girls are fighting. Jack Schlossberg does not endorse RFK, mind you. They're cousins, and he has said that his own cousin is a prick. In which he also said, I'm a fan of his father, and his uncle, rest in peace. I remember where I was the day he was killed.
It was a tragic day. The entire country wept. But listen, that guy, he's a prick. The new guy, the young guy, he's a freaking prick. He's lying to you. All right?
So this is the point of the story where I tell you that Taylor Swift did in fact date RFK's son, Connor Kennedy. I just inserted the Jack stuff because he's cute and also to make you less depressed, because this video isn't supposed to make you depressed, it's supposed to make you uncomfortable. So how the fuck is Taylor Swift somehow connected to the Kennedys? And how the fuck did some of you guys get my address? I'm talking about you Swifties who are mad at me because I'm making a video where I'm just addressing things that actually did happen and are facts for doxing me just because I point out a little bit of negative history of Taylor Swift. We all know who Taylor Swift is. We don't need a history lesson on that. It's summer 2012. Tumblr's life. Call Me Maybe is on the radio. We're wearing Galaxy leggings. We're ordering cotton candy frappuccinos from Starbucks. Life is really good. Life is really good for everyone, especially Taylor Swift, because she is on top of her career and she's also waiting for her 17-year-old boyfriend to turn 18 so that they can legally be together. Now, for some context of timeline, from October 2010 to January 2011, she was dating Jake Gyllenhaal. Jake Gyllenhaal and her had a big age gap where she was around 20 and he was around 30. We all know the 10-minute All Too Well version, the music video that came out with Sadie Sink representing Taylor Swift and Dylan O'Brien, 10 years older, representing Jake Gyllenhaal. Gyllenhaal not being able to see the end of day without getting harassment, obviously. Why the fuck did you not give her back her scarf? What the fuck is up with that? So just for some context there, Taylor Swift was in fact with Jake Gyllenhaal, who was 10 years her senior, which sparked up a big conversation about age gap relationships. So then from July 2012 to October 2012, Taylor Swift was dating Connor Kennedy, who was very, very freshly 18, and Taylor Swift being 23. Keep in mind, Connor Kennedy's birthday is July 24th, 2012, in which he was turning 18. With them first meeting, 4th of July. All right, we'll get to that though. There is this whole awesome article about the entire Taylor Swift's Kennedy obsession by Mary Mahoney, so I will be linking that, so make sure to check that out. But in 2011, Taylor Swift was profiled in The New Yorker talking about her relatable pop culture faves, which included the Kennedys. She was watching a lot of History Channel documentaries and said, I'm just so obsessed with the whole history of JFK and RFK. She also talked about completing the 900-page book, The Kennedy Women. So here is picture Taylor Swift Rory Kennedy, Ethel Kennedy. Rory Kennedy, daughter of Ethel Kennedy. Ethel, who was an American human rights activist, wife of RFK, and sister-in-law to JFK. Rory had seen these comments that Taylor Swift have made about the Kennedy family, and she was like, oh, we need to get concert tickets immediately for the kids. At the show, she slipped Taylor her mom's number when she heard that Taylor was such a fan. And soon, Taylor was attending the Sundance premiere of Rory's documentary about Ethel. Taylor Swift also tells Vogue, "The only time in my life I've ever been starstruck was meeting Caroline and Ethel Kennedy. I got to spend the afternoon with Ethel a couple weeks ago. She is one of my favorites because you look back at pictures of her and Bobby, this is Ethel and Bobby, also, RFK, but, we're like on nickname basis, Bobby. They were always looked like they were having the most fun out of everyone, 11 kids, all these exotic animals on the property. I've read a lot about them. So Ethel recognizes Taylor's love and admiration of the Kennedys, and she invites her over for the 4th of July to her house. So at the 4th of July party, Taylor Swift is seen with Patrick Schwarzenegger, which sparked a lot of dating rumors, considering this man was, already 18. Patrick Schwarzenegger, son of Arnold, is connected because Arnold married Maria Shriver, a niece of the former U.S. President JFK. But also at this 4th of July party was Connor Kennedy, still 17 at the time. You guys always hear me talk about fucking Miranda Cosgrove and iCarly. Like, I love iCarly. That's like if I'm gonna go spend Christmas with Miranda Cosgrove's family. You know what I mean? Big deal. So as a thank you to being invited to the 4th of July party, Taylor Swift performed her new song that she written called Starlight. The song, which is basically a Kennedy fanfiction, in which she imagines herself to be a young Ethel Kennedy. Now, while all the lyrics are not very accurate of how Bobby and Ethel had met in the song, I don't know how much research was actually put into this song. However, it must be kind of weird to be performing that in front of the person who the song is supposed to be about, with lyrics like, I met Bobby on the boardwalk, summer 45, picked me up late one night out the window, we were 17 and crazy, running wild, can't remember what song it was playing when we walked in, the night we snuck into a yacht club party, pretending to be a duchess and a prince, when in actuality, how Bobby and Ethel had met was winter in Quebec, when Bobby was dating Ethel's sister. So after the performance, it is rumored that Taylor Swift and Connor Kennedy started dating, who was then 17, once again, when she was 22. I know I'm gonna get comment. I've made videos about age gap relationships before, especially, in Hollywood. There's this big conversation about like, oh my god, 4 years is nothing. Like, almost 18 and 22, that's like not a big deal at all. Like, oh my god, you wouldn't bat an eye if somebody was 34 and 38. Right, because they're like full-grown adults with developed brains and there's like no power dynamic whatsoever. However, somebody who is entering their senior year of high school versus a very, very successful pop star, I would argue that that is a very big power dynamic. 17, almost 18, and 22, the things you have in common with, it's not going to be that much. And then we get back to that discussion of a lot of people who are like, when I was 22, I would have never thought to have dated a 17 or an 18-year-old. Like, I don't even know any 17 or 18-year-olds. Even Taylor Swift fans will admit, like, okay, this is a kind of a weird time in Taylor's life. Like, I don't know what she was up to. Like, this is weird. We don't claim this. But it did happen. Okay, we cannot ignore that it did happen. In the same way in which we would judge a male celebrity, or I should say, the same way in which I would judge a male celebrity who is 22 dating a 17, almost 18-year-old, the same way I am going to look strangely and judge Taylor Swift for doing the same. Especially when this was an extremely vulnerable time for Connor Kennedy, who had just lost his mother 2 months prior, who was suffering from years of mental health struggles and had died from suicide. This was extremely recent. A very vulnerable time, especially in a young kid's life, and to also enter a relationship with an adult, that's a lot. And I don't think I'm going out on a limb by saying that kid's a victim. It's weird that I'm afraid to say what I want to say just because I feel like Taylor Swift fans will be upset with me or angry with me, and it feels like you can't really have any opinions if they're not positive. I feel like that would not be doing a justice to myself or, to all the stories that I have covered talking about massive age gap relationships, or even like predators and grooming such as like Drake and literal children in which he talked to, like Millie Bobby Brown. I think it's a bit deceitful and preying upon someone so young and going through a really vulnerable time in their life, especially when you are this powerful, rich celebrity and you are also kind of like openly obsessing with this person's family. So from the book Heirs, John Caroline and the New Generation, acclaimed Kennedy historian Randy Taraborelli draws back the curtain on the next generation of America's most famous family, the Kennedys. This was released in 2019. Patrick Kennedy, another Kennedy, recalled, "I couldn't resist pointing out to the group during a brief lull in the dialogue that the girl in the bathing suit walking down the path to the docks was Taylor Swift, who was then dating my nephew and probably already composing the song about their breakup." This book is like the epitome of chronically online girl. The book states in a week or two it became pretty clear that Taylor Swift was moving fast. She'd become serious about Connor in what some felt was record time. She became so consumed by him and maybe by the Kennedy lifestyle that in mid-August she actually decided to buy property on Cape Cod just to be close with him. Freshly 18 Connor Kennedy. While her decision seemed surprising to some observers, maybe it just showed how easy it is to get swept away by the Kennedys. Taylor Swift had spent $4.9 million on a 13-room, 7-bedroom home overlooking Nantucket Sound, with its own private beach and guest house. This was strictly for summer use, like this was not her main residence by any means. Connor liked Taylor, don't get me wrong, said his friend, but this business of her buying the house on Cape Cod made him nervous. After all, it was just one property away from the compound. It seemed as if she was getting a little too attached, spending $5 million on a house just to be near the guy. If you don't think it's that close, I mean, this is literally drawn out for you. Here's the Kennedy compound. There's Taylor Swift's house. Oh my. So in that same month of August 2012, Taylor Swift and Connor actually crashed a Kennedy wedding. He did not RSVP, which apparently Taylor Swift did not know about, so they were not really greeted as if they were wanted there, you know? On August 17th, a bit of a wrinkle would present itself in this new Kennedy romance when Connor's cousin Kyle, daughter of Vicki Gifford Kennedy, Michael Kennedy's widow, married a fellow named Liam Kerr. According to Vicki, who had gone on to a quiet, unassuming life while raising her children after her husband's death, Connor sent her a text an hour before the wedding reception at the Fairmount Copley Plaza saying he'd forgotten to RSVP. Right, typical, like a fucking teenager who's going into his senior year of high school. He wondered if he could still attend the wedding, but Vicki said no. Later, she would explain that she feared Taylor's presence would detract from the attention rightly due to her daughter on the special day. So what do? Connor and Taylor showed up anyway. As soon as everybody realized who Connor was with, all the focus shifted from the bride and groom to Taylor Swift, obviously. Upset, Vicki went up to Taylor, introduced herself, and asked her as nicely as I could, in quotations, to leave. In return, Taylor gave her a long stare. It was like talking to a ghost, Vicki said. She seemed to look right past me. She and Connor then just breezed right by Vicki and then went on to enjoy the festivities. Vicki told me that was complete bullshit, said reporter Gail Fee. While a lot of women might have been like, oh wow, Taylor Swift, not Vicki. Eventually, one of Connor's cousins came up to him and warned him, dude, you'd better check yourself. Aunt Vicki is pissed. I think she's gonna drag Taylor Swift out of here by her ponytail. And that's when the couple left the party. So after this whole misunderstanding and this crashing of the wedding was reported to the media, Kathy Lee Gifford, Vicki Kennedy's stepmother and the step-grandmother of the bride, decided to confirm on television that Taylor had been kicked out of the reception. Taylor was, as she put it, mortified. She immediately had her spokeswoman deny the whole thing and say that the bride was actually thrilled that she was present. Taylor then went on to call Ethel just to make sure that there was like no hard feelings between them. She explained that when Vicki asked her to leave, there was just so much pandemonium going on around them that she just like completely misunderstood her. That's why she stayed. Like she just didn't understand what she was saying to her. She was like, oh my god, like what? You said something to me? It went in one ear and out the other because like everywhere I go there's just so much chaos. That was her explanation. Ethel responded, there are so many more important things to worry about in the world. Spoken like a woman who's known real problems. Don't worry, kiddo. She reportedly told Taylor, there will be plenty more days in the sunshine. The next day, Connor and Taylor were seen at Connor's mother's gravestone at St. Francis Xavier Cemetery in Centerville, Massachusetts, while wearing like huge celebrity sunglasses and like praying at this boy's mother's grave. However, around September, October, Connor did have to go back to school, to, you know, rich boy boarding school, and reportedly in September, Connor ended it with Taylor, and that she was disappointed, thinking that they would have a future together. And soon after, Taylor had to start promoting her new album, Red, which featured the song about Connor's grandparents, Starlight. Now, the exact reasoning for their breaking up Unsure, some people speculate it's because she did buy a $5 million house right across the street from him. They didn't know each other for a very long time. Distance, literally going to prep school, while the other one is like a famous pop star. Taylor would later sell the home for a profit of $1 million and never confirm or deny she bought it in the first place. And by April 2013, she tried to make light of it by joking in a Vanity Fair profile. People say that about me, that I apparently buy houses near every boy I like. That's a thing I apparently do. If I like you, I will apparently buy up the real estate market just to freak you out so you leave me. However, regardless of the breakup, the Kennedys and Taylor Swift are still literally on good terms. In December 2012, just months after Connor and her had broken up, Taylor attended the Ripple of Hope Gala organized by Kerry Kennedy to celebrate those who work for social change. And yes, Taylor Swift did in fact perform Starlight at the ceremony. Taylor Swift only performed Starlight once at the Eras Tour as a surprise song, but Kerry Kennedy still loved it. She shared it on April 11th to mark Ethel's 96th birthday and presumably make sure that no one forgot that there was once a time where Taylor loved the Kennedys. The writer of the book about the Kennedy heirs says that when Connor looks back on the first summer after his mother's death, he's grateful to Taylor Swift. She helped him through a tough time by bringing to it a little of romance and just a touch of Kennedy melodrama, which he had to admit was actually fun. For her part, Taylor looks back as a special time in her life where she got to experience, at least in some small way, getting to know members of the fabled Kennedy family she so idolized. It was one of the best times of my life, she has said. Even though this is like a very big Kennedy connoisseur and this man knows everything about the Kennedy family, I'm not positive what are his sources for that. Taylor's obviously gotten so much criticism of this in the last 12 years. All from dating somebody, you know, at the end of them being 17 and turning 18 and having a pretty hefty age gap when you are so young, to like doing a Kennedy 60s cosplay, like wearing the polka dots and the 60s style swimsuits and headbands and the big black sunnies. A source told us in October 2012 it was just a distance thing, no hard feelings, they're fine. About the singer and then high school senior, that is actually how it is quoted in Us magazine, because in case you forgot, he was in fact a high school senior. In October 2012, Taylor Swift told Katie Couric, I don't know how to have a normal relationship because I try and act normal, love from a normal place and live a normal life, but there is sort of an abnormal magnifying glass, like telescope lens, on everything that happens between me and anybody else. This was shortly after the news about her and Connor separating had come out. I don't really know that much about love, it turns out. And then in November 2021, Taylor had a re-released Red, Taylor's version, bringing attention to this romance like all over again. Because like, while yes, it is a bit odd to be writing about a large age gap relationships such as Jake Gyllenhaal and her and the power dynamic there, and then her power dynamic with her and a literal teenager. And both subjects were believed to be the subjects of the Red album. Specifically the song Begin Again being about Connor Kennedy, with lyrics like, took a deep breath on the mirror, he didn't like when I wore high heels, but I do, turn the lock and put my headphones on, he always said he didn't get this song, but I do. I do. And you throw your head back laughing like a little kid. I think it's strange that you think I'm funny because he never did. I've been spending the last 8 months thinking all love ever does is break and burn and end. But on a Wednesday in a cafe, I watch it begin again. Anyway, it is now the year 2024. Connor Kennedy is newly engaged. Taylor Swift is seemingly very happy and loving with Travis Kelce, and somehow a man who claims that a worm had eaten part of his brain is the head of Health and Human Services in the White House. Life just works in such mysterious ways. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please make sure that you leave it a like. Make sure that you leave a comment what you want me to do the next Chronically Online Girl video. That will be in the new apartment. I'm so excited. Thank you guys for making this like even a thing, and it's, yeah, I'm gonna cry. Like when I have to take these photos down, I'm gonna cry. I never thought I'd be taking down pictures of fucking Taylor Swift on my wall and crying about them, but I will be. Make sure you subscribe if you want to be nasty, if not you're disgusting. Also make sure you have your bell notifications on so every single time I post, or else you're gross. Make sure to check out my podcast. It comes out every other Monday. And on the off Mondays, we also post on Patreon, and we're also going on tour. So make sure you get your tour tickets because it's coming up in March. You can get those at NicoleRaffi.com. If you want to follow me on my other social media, Instagram, 2D Pulse Pod Badge, just at Nicole Raffi. And if you want to follow me on my TikTok, it's at Nikki Nasty. I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna cry. Is it about Jack Schlossberg's face? Is it about RFK working within the White House? Or is it about me taking down the Taylor Swift photos from my wall? We may never know. Thank you. My own biggest hater. It's true. Not only did I read It Ends With Us twice, Once because I had to read it on my own and to highlight everything, and the second time I read it, it was for all of you guys, for all of your enjoyment, okay? Like, I'm your little jester. But I also went to go see It Ends With Us, the movie, at 11 p.m. the other night. I paid $16. I didn't even get a fucking pretzel because they were out of pretzels, because they don't sell pretzels at 11 p.m. even though that's prime pretzel time. For you. I did that all for you. You're welcome. Thank you so much to NoCD for sponsoring today's video. This may not be your first time hearing about this, but I do in fact have OCD. I actually got diagnosed during the pandemic, and I did not know a lot about OCD. I only had a vision of what OCD was based off of how it is portrayed in movies and TV shows, which isn't always very accurate. I ended up going to CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. At this time, I was really struggling with really bad health anxiety. My intrusive thoughts and compulsions completely ruled my life, and I had no idea about it prior to this. It affected my relationship with my family and friends so much, and I knew that I needed to do something to change this. However, I found with CBT that my symptoms were only starting to get worse. I did not feel like I was improving with my OCD. I instead felt like I was going backwards. It wasn't until a few years ago that I started going to ERP. ERP is specifically designed for OCD. OCD was created by people with OCD to bring specialized OCD care to anybody that needs it. NoCD offers effective, affordable, and convenient specialized therapy specifically for OCD. I have not been able to look back since I started ERP because of how much it has improved my symptoms with OCD. Not only do I notice it, but everyone else in my life notices it as well and has told me how much progress I really have made. My quality of life has improved. I am happier, and all the people around me can clearly see that. ERP helps you sit with the discomfort, confronting the obsessions, and resisting the urge to do the compulsions. And I had never heard about it until a few years ago, and it was honestly very scary at first. I was so skeptical because of my experience with CBT, but after starting it, I realized how essential it is to my progress with treating my OCD. OCD is a place where people with OCD can get ERP therapy that is covered by insurance. If you think you may be struggling with OCD, please go to nocd.com. Thank you, NoCD! Initially, I was like, I can't read this book, I can't watch the movie, I cannot take part in the whole It Ends With Us saga. I'm gonna have to sit this one out, guys, alright? I grew up around domestic violence, it's very triggering, I cannot stand the sound of men yelling, I get transported back in time. But then this whole like lack of self-respect thing came along, and also severe FOMO. And so here I am, making my second It Ends With Us video of the week. And I know that this may come as a shock to many of you, but the book and movie It Ends With Us is actually about domestic violence. I know that the author didn't do a great job of letting you know that, and I know that the cast didn't really do a great job of letting you know that, and I know that the press for the movie didn't do a great job of telling you that, but shocker, surprise. Sorry guys, this is how you had to find out. Colleen Hoover is going to be my sleep paralysis demon tonight. I don't know if you guys knew this, but this wall is actually in my bedroom and my bed is directly across from it, so every night I fall asleep to some variation of this wall. I'm probably going to wake up in the middle of the night, have like auditory hallucinations, and hear Miss Hoover be like, and then we both laughed at our son's big balls, or something like that. We need to talk about the It Ends With Us movie cast drama, because somehow Colleen Hoover and the book became the least controversial part of this all, which I never thought I would be saying. Thank you guys so much for all of the love on the It Ends With Us read-through video that Jake and I did a few days ago. Today we are following what the hell happened with Blake Lively, the whole entire cast, Colleen Hoover, and why everyone is unfollowing Justin Baldoni. We already had Barbenheimer. How the fuck did we have It Ends With Deadpool x Wolverine? I have no idea. I have no idea how I got to this. And of course, how is Trisha Paytas involved? I'm just kidding, we're gonna actually cover that right now. I'm not gonna make you guys wait for that. So, as you guys may know, Trisha Paytas was supposed to be cast as Lily Bloom. That's why she's dressed up in Lily Bloom attire right there. She was supposed to have the role of Lily Bloom. Justin Baldoni had cast her. Unfortunately, due to some scheduling conflicts, because of Trisha Paytas' pregnancy, she was unable to go through with the role, and that's why we had Blake Lively step in. So, Trisha would have made a great Lily. Probably better than Blake Lively. A very brief rundown on the entire story, because it seems like most of the cast has forgotten it, and I feel like it's very essential to know about it, to understand this drama. If you would like to hear the whole scope of everything, you can watch our video. Blake Lively plays Lily Blossom Bloom, who owns a flower shop. No, I'm not fucking with you. She is obsessed with Ellen DeGeneres and writes to her. She just has a whole diary of letters to Ellen DeGeneres, and we have to read them. Lily falls in love with a neurosurgeon named Ryle Kincaid. You know the shock that I felt in the movie theater when he said Kincaid and not Kincaid? Kincaid. Stupid. So fucking stupid. I would say sorry to anybody whose last name is Kincaid, but I know nobody's last name is Kincaid, okay? Anyway, Ryle is played by Justin Baldoni. They met because they met on a rooftop while Ryle was literally getting riled up and being physically aggressive towards a chair, like literally kicking the shit out of a chair. I have never seen Justin Baldoni in anything because I cannot get over my fear of cryptic pregnancies, so I will not be watching Jane the Virgin for him. In the story, not only is he emotionally and romantically unavailable, but he's pathetic. He just keeps repeating to Lily Blossom Bloom, like, I wanna fuck you, I wanna fuck you, I wanna fuck you, like any given chance. At one point he like crawls to her house while he's still in scrubs and just got off of a 48-hour shift, and like his scrubs are covered in C. diff, is begging on his hands and knees for Lily Blossom Bloom to fuck him. Just once, just please, Lily. Anyway, they start dating, and he gets physically abusive. And then they get married, and he's still physically abusive. Now, Lily is already traumatized by her father being physically abusive to her mom growing up, and she tries to reassure herself, like, this is not the same situation as my parents. She tries to justify the relationship, she tries to justify his abuse. Now, in the words of Lily Blossom Bloom, the first man that she ever had sex with was a homeless man. But in the movie, she says, an unhoused man. Or maybe a man experiencing houselessness. I'm not joking. And his name is Atlas, and he reappears in her life and encourages her to leave Ryle. Lily finally reaches a breaking point with Ryle after a very abusive attack. She finds safety with Atlas, however she does find out that she's pregnant with Ryle's baby. She ends up having this baby, she ends up naming it Ellen after Ellen DeGeneres. I'm just kidding. It's worse. She gives the child the middle name Dory, after Dory from Finding Nemo. Anyway, she then tells Ryle that she wants a divorce right after giving birth, and she tells her baby, it ends with us. The cycle of abuse ends with us. The whole entire story is about breaking the cycle of generational trauma, but also how just because you have experienced it firsthand and you are this strong, powerful, independent woman, that does not suddenly mean that you are immune to getting abused. Because guess what? None of us are immune to it. The book has cringy elements, okay? I don't think it always has the best writing. It's problematic in some ways. There's no reason for young Lily Blossom Bloom to be 15 and this guy who she's sleeping with being 18. No need for it. It's definitely an interesting and captivating story, and I completely understand how somebody could like it. And I respect it for the fact that it has 100% definitely helped people who are in DV situations. I am gonna have to censor some words because I do not want this video to get age restricted, because I do find it's very important that young people still watch this video. YouTube is very, very picky about that kind of stuff. And I respect Colleen Hoover for writing this book because it's going to keep making a difference in people's lives who are going through DV situations and either may not know it or may not have the strength to leave that relationship just yet, especially with its mainstream success being such a popular book and then now a movie with like extremely famous actors. I think it's going to do a lot of good, and for that I really applaud Miss Colleen Hoover, and I will give her flowers just this once. Now, this topic hits very, very, very close to home for me, okay? I would not wish growing up in a house with domestic abuse upon anybody. Just like Lily, I have no relationship with my father because he was guilty of domestic violence. Just like Lily, I fell down the generational cycle of abuse. I too was not immune to being abused, even though I saw it firsthand since I was a kid. I am like Lily in so many ways. And I know that there's gonna be people watching this movie, reading this book, or even watching this video who relate to Lily a whole fucking lot. What I do think is actually diabolical though is how this movie's press is going. How this movie is being advertised. Why is this movie being advertised as a rom-com? Why are their viewers encouraged to go put on their florals and go with their girlies to the theaters?
Ends With Us is in theaters now, so grab your friends, wear your florals.
What is up with this like uppity and light mood that we are setting the tone for this film? Why are we saying that there's hot guys and hot girls and that it's romantic and it has crying and it has everything that you could want in a movie?
It's fun, it's romance, there's hot guys, there's hot...
Why are we skimming over the DV and all of the advertisements for this movie, thus making people who are going to the theaters for this completely blindsided by what they're about to see? Why is there no redirection to the audience for where they can go to for help if they're struggling with DV? Why the fuck are we promoting a hair care brand right now? Why are we cross-promoting with Deadpool and Wolverine? And why is Justin Baldoni, the director and producer of the movie, not even at any of the interviews or seen photographed with any of the people from the movie. Okay, let's go back in time real quick. Justin Baldoni had picked up the book It Ends With Us to be turned into a movie in 2019. The book was initially published in 2016. So Justin and his production company have been working on this for 5 years now. Justin is known to have a podcast called Man Enough. Man Enough is reframing masculinity, building a movement around healthy manhood and greater equality for all. Man Enough is a movement founded on the belief that undefining traditional roles and traits of masculinity, men will be able to realize their potential as humans and their capacity for connection. He also has several books about this topic, like Man Enough, Undefining My Masculinity, as well as Boys Will Be Human, a real gut check guide to becoming the strongest, kindest, bravest person you can be. Clearly, this is a passion project for Justin, so him picking up a book like It Ends With Us is no surprise. And the fact that he was playing the main character, the literal antagonist of it all, as well as the director, it was a lot. It's a lot, but it makes complete sense for what it seems like he is passionate about. Now, in January 2023, it was announced that Blake Lively was going to be cast as Lily Blossom Bloom. She also was really passionate about being an executive producer for this film. Now, the movie was mainly shot in Hoboken, New Jersey. Throughout the last year, I've seen on social media people posting videos and photos of the set and them recording and filming the movie.
Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni films It Ends With Us in New Jersey.
The main criticisms for this all is like, oh my god, I can't believe that this Colleen Hoover book is being turned into a movie, but also, what the fuck were Blake Lively's outfits? Mainly just people being like, this is not the Lily Bloom that we had imagined in our head. But that was the main criticisms of this all. Now, in May 2024, we have Justin Baldoni and Colleen Hoover doing press arm in arm.
Colleen, the beauty of me reading the book after knowing the casting is you can start to visualize a little bit, you know, what it could look like, what these characters look like.
She had given her trust into his hands for him to handle this movie with his discretion and his care. Because at the end of the day, Colleen Hoover still had a say in this movie and how things were run. That is not the case for all movies that were books originally, but in this case, Colleen Hoover got to be hands-on with the movie. Now, the movie was released August 9th, 2024, and when the premiering and the press started for the movie last week, a lot of people had seen some red flags. People started to notice that Justin Baldoni was doing all of his press separately. He wasn't photographed with the rest of the cast, and the cast started dodging questions about him. When Jenny Slate, who plays Justin Baldoni's character's sister, when she was asked what it was like working with Justin as the director, she completely skimmed by the question, answered it in her own way.
Talk to me, what was that like, having him be director but also scene partner?
I mean, what an intense job. Like to have to do so many things. I just found myself being like, wow, I really just want to have one job at once.
When you try to find photos of Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni together, other than being in the movie together, you can't find shit. And this is where speculation started to be led that there was some sort of feud happening between Blake and Ryan Reynolds versus Justin Baldoni. Throughout the last few weeks, Ryan Reynolds has been seen with the cast and photographed with them at the premiere, even his co-star Hugh Jackman in photos with the cast, but notably never Baldoni, who was only ever pictured with his wife Emily Baldoni. So something that we didn't find out until recently is that Ryan Reynolds was involved in the production of It Ends With Us. At the New York City premiere on August 6th, Lively revealed to E! News that it was Reynolds who wrote the iconic rooftop scene between Lily and Ryle, and that she and her husband often work on each other's projects, saying, "He works on everything I do. I work on everything he does. So his wins, his celebrations are mine, and mine are his." This raised a lot of eyebrows for multiple reasons. First of all, the film screenwriter and co-producer Christy Hall later added that she was unaware that Reynolds changed the script until after It Ends With Us was released, but went on to praise him, saying, "No one makes a movie by themselves, so it takes hundreds of people to create a village to surround this thing, and everyone gives it what they can." Some people online have pointed out how shady this was for Ryan Reynolds to be involved and rewrite this scene, because we were in a writer's strike. The only reason any film production was allowed to film was that the scripts had to be locked in. No edits could be added. By Blake admitting that her husband helped rewrite this scene indicates that they rewrote this scene during the strike. This was basically a big fuck you to all the writers on strike who were trying to fight for a livable wage, because Ryan Reynolds went in there and rewrote it like it was nothing, taking a job away from a different writer. Sources also started to state that the differences creatively between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni were so significant that there were two entirely different cuts of the film, which is not unheard of. There are sometimes multiple cuts of a film in the editing process. Lively allegedly commissioned a cut of It Ends With Us from Shane Reed, the co-editor of Deadpool and Wolverine, Ryan Reynolds movie, who also edited the Taylor Swift music video for I Bet You Think About Me that Lively directed in 2021. Reed is not officially listed as an editor of the film, which is credited to Una Flaherty and Rob Sullivan, so it's unclear how much, if any, of this cut made it into the final product. This is the final movie poster that we had gotten. There's a completely separate one on Justin Baldoni's Instagram page that still lives there. That has a much different vibe than this movie poster that reads, "We break the pattern or the pattern breaks us." People quickly start to see that there is quite a difference with how both of the main characters were portraying what this film was really about. Like I said, Lily Blossom Bloom owned the flower shop. That's a big part of the movie, flowers. It's been reported that Blake wore florals to her crossover event with her drinks company, Betty Buzz, which she tied into the movie with a Betty Blooms theme, where she captioned an Instagram post, "When your company throws a florist themed party for your movie." Blake also relieved her own hair care line amid the promotion of the movie called Blake Brown, sold at Target. You can't forget it because of how often it's mentioned. You basically can't scroll on TikTok without seeing like Blake Lively like zhuzh up some girl's hair, spray it, make it like really voluminous. That's awesome. Are we still talking about a movie about DV? Another key part of Blake Lively's press for It Ends With Us has been discussing her husband, Ryan Reynolds. She has kind of been bringing him up any chance that she gets, in the midst of an interview literally saying, "Deadpool Wolverine sold out," by getting distracted by a sign in the background.
Why is Deadpool Wolverine sold out? I'm sorry, I got distracted back there.
Ryan Reynolds also appeared in a skit where he was jokingly interviewing Blake Lively's other co-host, who plays Atlas, Brandon Sklenner.
How do you explain that? Some sort of like low-angle squat routine to pop that region in that way? I mean, what's going on here, man?
Blake posted a promotional video on her Instagram with Brandon where they make hot chocolate cookies from the movie.
Hi. I'm Brandon.
I'm Blake.
And I'm Teeny.
And this is Teeny.
Yes. So we're making the hot chocolate cookies that Atlas makes for Cat and Lily.
She also shared a lighthearted girl talk video onto her Instagram with other female creatives from the movie.
Welcome to my apartment. We're in my living room, my real life living room. I'm Blake Lively.
I'm Jenny Slate.
I'm Colleen Hoover. And I'm Isabella Ferrer.
Adding in the caption, "I'm gonna be sad when marketing is over and I don't have excuses to sit on my couch dressed up with you ladies." Now this has been difficult for some people who have been long-term fans of Blake Lively, really have been big fans of It Ends With Us, the meaning behind it, if they themselves are DV survivors or know somebody who is. It has just really upset a lot of people, because to me also it does seem a little bit off. The lack of talking about DV relationships, the lack of conversations about resources, the floweriness of this whole entire campaign, and kind of trying to paint this movie as more so about Lily and who she is as a woman, and how she's a multifaceted woman, and how she's more than just abuse.
I didn't look at any one thing in her life because I think she's so much more than this thing that happened to her.
Which granted, yes, she absolutely is. However, the movie is about breaking generational cycles of abuse. That is the point of it. It doesn't seem like anybody else on the cast or production of the movie is talking about that, except for Justin Baldoni. His current Instagram bio directly links to No More, an anti-domestic abuse nonprofit that was the charitable partner of the movie. Other than Justin, No More is not really talked about by other people in the cast. Justin worked with them in his depiction of violence in the movie and has sported their pin alongside tagging them in numerous other posts. Speaking about the abuse has been the focus of Justin's press. He says, "The message is the most important thing. That's why Colleen wrote the book. I was always thinking about the outcome and the why, and the one woman I was making this for and who would sit in that theater and maybe not go back to her abusive relationship." The question that's always asked is, why did she stay? That's the wrong question. What we need to be asking ourselves is, why do men harm? This is not an easy story to tell, and yet it was profoundly important. I've learned so much. As of today, Blake has shared to her Instagram a BBC interview clip from the London screening of the movie last week onto her Instagram story.
This movie covers domestic violence, but what's important about this film is that she is not just a survivor and she's not just a victim. And while those are huge things to be, they're not her identity.
And she also posted her Instagram saying, "Thank you to everyone who came out to show that people want to see films about women and the multitudes we hold. It Ends With Us is a story of the female experience, all the highest highs and the lowest lows. We have been in celebration of this film and of getting a message so important out there to the masses." However, this comes all after a lot of criticism the last few days for how Blake Lively has been handling questions about the movie and the topic. There was one specific question that an interviewer had that maybe there are going to be people who come up to Blake and have been victims of domestic violence and want to talk to her about their experience and how much this movie meant to them and how she recommends they, approach this topic. To which Blake made a joke out of it and was like, what do you want? Like, my location? You want to track me on my phone? You want to, get my house address? In which Brandon Sklenar looks very uncomfortable in a lot of these interviews, just kind of, sitting on the sidelines, seemingly thinking, what the fuck is going on right now?
So if someone understands the themes of this movie, comes across you in public, and they want to really talk to you, what's the best way for them to be able to talk to you about this? How would you recommend they go about it?
Asking for my address or my phone number or my location share. Or I could just location share you and then we could
It just honestly felt off. It almost felt like she didn't get the full message and meaning behind this movie, which is so hard to believe when you had to play such an immensely difficult character like Lily Bloom, and the scenes in there are not easy. The scenes in the movie are very triggering. Scenes in the movie are very, very intense. I will say they cut out a lot of intense scenes that were in the book, which genuinely I am a bit happy that they did, not because of triggering reasons, but because I'm happy that there are going to be people who go to the theaters and are able to see, oh, it doesn't have to get to the point of, my husband headbutting me in order for this to be very bad abuse. I worry that if they showed all of the scenes of the physical abuse that was in the book, that people in the theaters could sit there and watch it and say, well, it's not that bad for me. It never got to that point. It never got that bad. Because they kind of tamed it down a little bit, which was still very awful physical abuse, do not get me wrong, it makes me feel a bit more at peace that there are going to be people in the theater sitting there and relating to some of these instances and being like, oh yeah, that's bad. That's enough. Even just that is bad enough. It doesn't have to get to the extreme level in which it was in the book for it to be serious. It's still serious just at this level. I hope that makes sense, what I'm trying to get across. I want this movie to positively impact as many people as possible. And I don't want anyone sitting in the theater being like, well, at least it's not that bad, I don't have it that bad. So it's definitely not abuse. In a recent interview with Today, Baldoni spoke about his collaborative approach to directing It Ends With Us, saying, every movie is a miracle, and then of course, you're navigating complex personalities and trying to get everybody on the same page with the same vision. And mistakes are always made, and then you figure out how to move past them. People were like, oh yeah, he's definitely talking about Blake. He has to be. Although nothing directly has been negatively said by either of them about each other. Baldoni still speaks highly of Blake Lively and Colleen Hoover, calling Blake a genius and that everything that she touched she made better. He was congratulated on the night of the premiere and told that this was his big night, where he said no, it was a night for all the women that this movie was made for, including a night for Blake and for Colleen. However, despite praising her, when asked by Us Weekly whether he'd be directing and starring in the sequel, Baldoni responded, I think there are better people for that one. I think Blake Lively is ready to direct. That's what I think.
We do have It Starts With Us, so I'm hoping to see you back in the double duty role.
I think there are better people for that one.
Justin.
I think Blake Lively's ready to direct. That's what I think. So.
Blake would. Is that something that you would entertain?
There is a sequel that ends with us. It's called It Starts With Us. Multiple unnamed industry sources have told Page Six that Baldoni made Lively uncomfortable on set and overall created an extremely difficult atmosphere for everyone involved. There seems to be a very clear divide in the cast, where it seems like most of the cast is on Blake Lively and Colleen's side, whereas Baldoni is off doing his own thing. So he still follows the cast and still follows Blake and Colleen. However, they have unfollowed him or do not follow him back. A set source recently told People all is not what it seems. There is much more to this story. The principal cast and author Colleen Hoover will have nothing to do with him. And reps for Lively and Baldoni did not respond to People's requests for comment. However, reports of the alleged behavior of Baldoni started August 9, when the Daily Mail published a report saying Baldoni was chauvinistic and borderline abusive on the set of It Ends With Us. As of today, when I am uploading this, TMZ has reported that Blake Lively felt that the kissing scene with Justin Baldoni lingered for too long and feels that he fat-shamed her. Sources with direct knowledge tell TMZ there was a scene in which Justin lifts Blake into the air. According to our sources, Justin has a history of back bumps. He went to his on-set trainer and asked how much he weighed and how he could train to protect his back from injury. Blake later found out about Justin's comment and felt that he fat-shamed her. We're told this comment really bothered Blake, who gave birth to her and her husband Rob Reynolds' fourth child in February 2023. I don't think that this is going to end anytime soon. Like, I feel like there's just going to be so many more updates after this video is live. So Blake has openly talked about how she has had a say in the direction of the wardrobe, the music. People have compared her a lot in the last few days to J-Lo, saying that she has become very unlikable, using a lot of I statements, a lot of me statements. She even referred to herself as somebody who fixes others' crowns.
He's like, someone on social media is calling you a crown straightener. I said, what's that? She said, a woman who goes around straightening other women's crowns.
Now, there is a video that is floating around from behind the scenes in which Blake was teaching Justin how to pull her in to then kiss her. When this was brought up in an interview, Blake was like, where did you see this video? Where did you see this? And Colleen even said like, oh yes, I saw this as well.
You were teaching Justin how to pull you in.
Where have you seen
this?
I just saw it too. Blake had made a note that she should not be acting like an intimacy coordinator, that should not be happening. However, they did hire intimacy coordinators.
Sometimes you were even the intimacy coordinator in some of those sexier scenes. Like, we saw you.
That shouldn't be happening, by the way.
There's other clips shot by witnesses that shows Blake outside of a Hoboken, New Jersey restaurant looking visibly annoyed at Justin. And Justin was directing in that particular scene, not acting alongside with her. TMZ reported that they were like thick in some on-set drama. I don't want to take these behind the scenes videos too seriously. We don't know the dynamic of what it was like on set. We have absolutely no idea. We were not there. We have no idea what anything is like. It is clear though, there is some tension that is happening, and there's obviously some sort of shift and uncomfortability with the cast. Now, as of today, August 13th, it is important to note that Justin Baldoni hires crisis PR veteran. The director and star has retained the services of Melissa Nathan, who represented Johnny Depp during the Amber Heard trial. The hiring of the agency group comes as Baldoni has been the subject of negative headlines over allegations that he made Lively uncomfortable on set. I want there to be nuance with this all. We obviously do not know what had happened behind the scenes, and I genuinely don't think that we will ever truly find out what happened behind the scenes. Whether it was a toxic workplace or not, whether there was disagreements, uncomfortability, tension, we will probably never know the true answer of it all, because filming did not just happen in one day. It took place for a very long time. I know it's very easy right now to be like, I'm team this person, I'm team that person. I think it's important to look at the greater scheme of things. And also, it's fair to say that all of the drama with the cast has completely overshadowed the meaning of what the book was supposed to be all about and what the movie was supposed to be all about. I think it's very important that this movie had come out. I think there's definitely flaws in it, obviously. I think they did a great job at romanticizing the abuse in the beginning of the movie. Yes, you see everything with rose-colored glasses. You make excuses for this abuser. You excuse the abuse as accidents. The movie intentionally confuses you and gaslights you because that is genuinely what it feels like to be in one of these situations. Yeah, he's beautiful and he's sexy and hot and does really, really nice things, and he's rich and he's a neurosurgeon. That's awesome. And guess what? He's still an abuser at the end of the day. He still did awful and abusive things. And it all happens so fast, and then they shower you with love after, and then make you believe that it was all your fault, and the cycle continues. And so many people are trapped in this situation and have no idea. And I think that is much, much more important than all of this. This movie is a lot greater than any of these people involved. I respect Justin Baldoni a lot for how he is talking about this in press and in interviews, and it seems like this is the takeaway that Justin Baldoni was hoping for. There is a real possibility that he was being chauvinistic. There are plenty of men in this world who claim that they are feminists and claim that they are advocates for women for their own personal gain. I'm not saying that's what he is, but there are people like that out there. A friend of mine went to the premiere in New York City and said that they were giving out a lot of flowers at the premiere, so much so that she came home with like a whole bouquet of flowers. And at the end of the night, her thoughts were, imagine if they saved all the money that they spent on all these flowers, and what if they actually donated to causes that benefited DV victims? Imagine the good that that money could have been spent on. I'm not entirely pleased with the press. I'm not entirely pleased with promoting hair care and alcoholic beverages you know, I'm not entirely pleased with it all. I'm not. That's just my honest opinion. But I will be donating a portion of today's sponsor to Women Against Abuse. It's a nonprofit here in Philadelphia. I'm going to drop a link if you guys want to donate as well. If you're someone that you know is in immediate danger as a result of DV, call 911 for anonymous confidential help. You can call the 24/7 National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 or chat with an advocate via the website. And that's that on that. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, please make sure that you leave it a like, because I'll spend so much. Also, leave a comment. Have you seen the movie? Have you read the book? What are your thoughts on this all? Make sure that you subscribe if you want to be nasty, if you're disgusting. Also, make sure your bell notifications on so you know every single time I post BlahSrah Gross podcast that comes out every other Monday. If you want to follow me on my other social media, Instagram, Twitter, Depop, Spotify, it's just Nicole Raffi. And if you want to follow me on my TikTok, it's at Nikki Nasty. I'm gonna go now. It's late. I'm gonna go to sleep, and I can't wait to see who my little sleep paralysis demon is gonna be tonight. Colleen Hoover, Trisha Paytas as Lily Blossom Bloom, or Ellen DeGeneres. I genuinely feel like Trisha Paytas as Lily Blossom Bloom is my safest option. So bye. The thing about me is that I'm going to be chronically online. I'm going to insert my nose in wherever. I'm going to keep my finger on the pulse. I'm going to keep my nose up the ass, right? I have not felt this alive and well since Bye Sister. I know a bunch of people are saying like, oh my god, the world is healing. Beauty gurus stopped fighting with each other, and when COVID was happening and the dolphins were showing up in the Hudson River. There's one thing that I'm really going to pay attention to. It's when men do women wrong and when women call them out. Whether it's Central C or whether it's Clinton Kane. If you are a liar, if you are a cheater, and if you are abusive, I have no problem calling you out. I will admit, I'm not the biggest watcher of the Canceled podcast. However, I think we all kind of know who Brooke Schofield is at this point. Brooke Schofield is a 27-year-old influencer who is the co-host of the Canceled podcast with Tana Mojo. Tana Mojo and her used to literally be foes. Like, they had a whole fight over a guy, and there was this, like, controversy going back and forth between them, and now they're best friends. And it's actually pretty cute. So this definitely shot Brooke Schofield up into fame so much. She's talented, she's funny. You also may have heard of her earlier this year when she was calling out Matt Rife. There's unfortunately nothing that you could pay me to print out a picture of that man. Essentially, Brooke talked about on her podcast how she was briefly dating Matt Rife. Matt Rife also seemed to be dating like 5 other girls while he was dating her and saying all the same things to them as he was saying to her. But what really was the kicker was that Matt Rife went on to say like really awful and terrible things about Brooke Schofield's body. Was very disgusting and like just a gross boy. And so she kind of went viral for doing that. Once again, I have known about this Clinton Kane controversy for a while now because she has talked about it, but this is definitely the most content that we have ever gotten out of it because, well, Brooke did a 14-part series about Clinton Kane. Why? Clinton Kane decided to promote his new song by posting a TikTok a few weeks ago saying, when you've been over the relationship for over 2 years, but she can't stop yapping. And who is the girlfriend in question that he was talking about? None other than Brooke Schofield. You cannot sit here and be like, I want the drama to end. I take accountability for my actions. If you're still gonna sit here and be like, I don't know why my ex is still upset over the thing that I did, even though the thing that you did is like a running long list of like terrible, abusive, toxic things that you have done. Anyway, let's get into it. Brooke, I wanted to call her Brooklyn for a second. Her full legal name, Brooklyn Schofield. I don't think her name's Brooklyn. Brooke Schofield on June 26th decides to make a whole 14-part series on TikTok where she called it Who the Fuck Did I Marry? As a reference to Risa Tisa, who a few months ago did a huge, I think that was like 50 parts of her relationship where she actually did marry a man and the marriage turned out absolutely like this man was nuts. Brooke immediately jokes about wanting to be less psycho and then posts this 14-part series, which I absolutely love and respect her for because that is incredibly funny. 14 parts is not as crazy as what we're about to get into. If you want some context, I'm recording this on Saturday, July 13th. If you know, then you know. And if you don't, then you'll find out later. I like to think of myself as a good-smelling person. Not because I just think that, but because I'm told that. Not to brag or anything, but it's true. That's like one of the best compliments to receive is that like, oh my god, you smell so good, what are you wearing? That's why I'm so happy that Scentbird is sponsoring today's video. Here is what the Scentbird packaging looks like. Really easy to lock it and unlock it. I just went on a trip recently and this was so easy to travel with. One of my favorite scents for the summer by Scentbird is Kenzie, Loving Life. It has notes of citrus, juicy berries, jasmine, rose, musk. It smells very feminine but very, very clean and not overly sweet. So this is like perfect for the summer. And then one of my favorite year-round scents is Commodity Gold. Featured notes are vanilla, amber, and sandalwood. You have to pry amber notes out of my cold, dead hands. It's definitely a warm scent, but it is sweet. I feel like I could wear this every single day, but it really shines, especially in the fall. And like I said before, this makes it so easy for travel. I did not want to have to worry about being like on a 6-hour flight and perfume spilling all in my toiletry bag, and being able to have the safe Scentbird packaging like gave me so much peace of mind. Also, it's like so easy to just pop into my bag. Takes up no room. It's cute that it matches. And you truly do get so much product in the vials that you are sent. Obviously mine is not full because I use it. Future Nicole here. I just got my new Scentbird package in the mail. I have never been so excited for scents before. I got You or Someone Like You. This is by Atelier de Orange. A scent without notes, a perfume without borders. You or Someone Like You is an untouched, mysterious, and evocative fragrance that transcends mere description, offering elegance of rose, mint, and herbs. And that's what it smells like. I never knew I needed a perfume that smells like mint, but I clearly do. Oh, and then I also got Dead Cool Extra Milk. A friend of mine wears this every single day, and it smells amazing on her. A universal musk amplifies with your friends close, and your scent closer. Smells like you, feels like pure comfort. With amber, bergamot, and white musk. I am in fact wearing these too. I need to leave the house today. Someone needs to smell me. Immediately. Scentbird is such a great solution for purchasing fragrances. A lot of times there's so many like niche perfumes and certain scents that you're only available to find in stores, and maybe you don't have easy access to even be able to go to those stores to even know what it smells like. Scentbird literally has such a diverse selection that you're bound to find something that you like, and it saves you so much of that risk of buying a whole bottle of a perfume that you don't even really know if you like or not. Also, Scentbird is affordable. You get to try your first fragrance from Scentbird for only $8, and then your next month will be $16.95. You know, if you are a fragrance fan, that is cheaper than a lot of rollerball or travel size perfumes that you can buy in store. If you're interested in trying Scentbird, make sure that you use code 55Nicole or the QR code that's on screen or the link that's down below for 55% off your order at Scentbird. That is code 55Nicole for 55% off Scentbird. That's literally getting the product for half the price. Like, that is such a steal. Thank you, Scentbird, for sponsoring today's video. Brooke admits that she ended up in a relationship with Clinton Kane because she was a fan of his music. Clinton Kane is an Australian artist. Putting this out at the CBS was honestly like a very humbling experience because the CBS employee was like, oh, Nicole Raffi, yeah, I saw the stuff that you printed. And it's like, okay, I'm not doing an anti-Australia campaign. It doesn't look like what it looks like. I can explain, but I won't. She said that she was a very big fan of his song, Chicken Tendies, which we now know is about his mom. Keep that in mind. Keep that in the back of your head, okay? She said that her and Tana used to listen to him all the time in her house, like blasting his music all the time. And then one day, she gets a DM from Clinton Kane, where he asks her on a date. She admits that she doesn't know if she wants to go to dinner. She doesn't know if she's attracted to him or not. However, he is residing in Las Vegas, and he offers to fly her out to Vegas, where she lives in LA. She declines because he is a stranger, but he persists. A while later, he then invites her to his show in Los Angeles. This all takes place in the first half of 2022. Brooke said that she purposely wore an unattractive outfit so that he would not be attracted to her, because that is not what she wanted out of this. However, seeing him perform, seeing him be a very, very good performer, she was like, I think I might be attracted to this man. I get it, I understand, I get it. He then invites her to go to the same show in Los Angeles the next day, which she goes to. She says that she goes on the bus with him afterwards with a friend, and then goes to a club and they make out. Then they go to a diner and talk for like 4 hours, okay? Keep that in mind. Like, the 4 hours is extremely fucking important. And he decides to open up to Brooke about his life and what happened the year prior in 2021. So not only did his mom die, but his dad died and his brother died. He opens up to her and tells her that he was homeless and had to sleep in parks and backpack in Europe and plays music, and that's how he eventually got discovered, was like on the streets of Europe. Brooke was very impressed by all of this. She was like, oh my god, I can't believe that you're doing all of this after like losing 3 of your family members. Like, that is actually nuts. Like, props to you. And she was very, very, very like enamored by him because of this. She was also really attracted to him because he said that he grew up in Perth and studied medicine, something that she also did before she was doing social media. So then the next day, he calls her and says that he was going to a music video shoot, but then he tested positive for COVID. Since they were making out the day before, she probably definitely has COVID as well. And he suggests that maybe they should quarantine in the one hotel together because there's nothing else for them to do. Like, they might as well quarantine if they both have COVID. And the one hotel is a very, very, very nice hotel, okay? And so Brooke, because of this conversation the night before, this 4-hour rendezvous that they had, she was like, oh my god, yeah. Like, yeah, I want to quarantine with you in a hotel. So she said that in this time she had no knowledge of his social media or kind of like what he did on social media as much. Like, she wasn't able to go and investigate because she was with him in person the entire time while they were quarantining. She said that he's playing music for for her, that he's like serenading her every night. And then afterwards, they were like, oh, we can't stay in this hotel all the time, so like, let's go to an Airbnb. I want to go stay at an Airbnb on the beach. And she's like, oh my god, duh. Like, it sounds like a dream come true. Like, that's like a perfect fucking meet cute. That's how a lot of people actually ended up together during COVID, was quite literally getting COVID and then having to quarantine together. Now, Brooke mentions that at the time when they were at this Airbnb, he wasn't really willing to let her go home so easily. Like, she wanted to go home and get a change of clothes and shower and do whatever she needed to do, and he was just making a big fuss if she wanted to go. Like, why don't you want to be with me? Why don't you want to be near me? I can come with you. It was just a lot at once. And Brooke sees this as a good thing because she's like, oh my god, like, he really likes me, like, he's obsessed with me. And when you're looking at all of these things, like with rose-colored glasses on, like all the red flags just look like flags, you know? So Zach Sang, who is a very, very popular interviewer, journalist, has his own show on YouTube called The Zach Sang Show. You may know him. I've mentioned him before in the Ariana Grande interview. He has interviewed pretty much anyone and everyone. Like, you can look him up and find interviews with like any celebrity ever. And I'll be honest, I was a really, really big fan. Like, I have watched a lot of my favorite celebrities on there. Like, I watched Conan Gray. I've seen, I like can't think of any more now. Like Conan Gray, Sabrina Carpenter, Billie Eilish, like everyone. So Zach Sang, Clinton, and Brooke were all hanging out, and Zach Sang says to Brooke, if you do not date this man, you are so stupid. You have to date this man. He's gonna blow up. He's gonna be so successful. Like, his career is literally skyrocketing right now. You'd be stupid to not fucking date him right now. So of course, having like the influence of your friends, you're like, oh my god, duh. Like, yes, clearly, if they see a good thing in front of me, then sure, I'll jump on that too. So now they're in a committed relationship with each other. She quotes this to be like May/June of 2022, and he books a weekend getaway to Joshua Tree together. In this time, he's driving his car, okay, and he gets pulled over by a cop on the way to Joshua Tree in his Tesla Model X. And Brooke says that he gives his Australian ID to the police officer, and the police officer is then reading off his information and was like, okay, it says you were born in 1999. Brooke was confused because she was like, 1999? Brooke at the time thought that he was only 1 year younger than her. Turns out he's actually 4 years younger than her. She also finds out that the car is not registered in his name. It's not his car. So when Brooke brings this up to him, he's like, oh my god, it's just a fake ID. Like, I somehow got away with it. Like, we're really, really lucky. Like, I shouldn't have handed that to him. It was a fake. Why would you have a fake ID to appear younger? But you know what? I was following this one musician on social media, and we were friendly with each other, and we would sometimes reply to each other's stories. And one time he posts a picture of all of his driver's licenses, like, and to show how different he looks every single year. And he had a different birth year on every single ID. Every single ID was a little bit different. 1999, 1997, 1995, 1994. And I was like, which one's the real one? Like, I was genuinely really nosy and curious. I was like, which one is the real one? And he tells me it's the one, like, that makes him appear the oldest is the real one. Why do you have all those other fakes that make you look younger? That makes no fucking sense. Anyway, I don't talk to that person anymore. Brooke brushes this off. Once again, you look at everything with rose-colored glasses on, all the red flags start to just look like flags. So they finally have their first fight, and this just came out of thin air. I don't say finally and like, oh, finally. I say finally and like, it was bound to happen finally. So Brooke is looking at her phone while they are eating dinner, and he says that's a major trigger of his to not pay 100% attention to him, because that's what his mom did, and that was super traumatic for him, and it's now very unresolved since she died. Like, he can never resolve that trauma with her about her not paying attention to him, because his mom's dead. Like, duh. And Brooke said that she never saw a man throw a tantrum in that way before. She said it was so rational, it was like talking to a child. You just had to apologize to him, and there was nothing that you could do to like console him except just like repeatedly apologize. I'll probably be bringing this up throughout the video, but one of the reasons why I empathize with Brooke so much, and I believe her story, and I believe what's true, is because I have dated someone who is so fucking similar to a lot of the things that Clinton Kane has said and done. It's actually fucking wild. So when she said throwing a tantrum like a child over, you know, something like that, like not paying attention to you during dinner, even though they had been together the entire weekend, I was like, I see myself in you, girl. I really do. She also claimed that worsening his trauma was the basis of a lot of their fights, and that she reminds him so much of his mother and how she should be more sensitive to that. And there were times where he would go on rampages and he would blow up her phone while she was out with friends, say that he was gonna drink like half a bottle of vodka, and how she needs to get to him immediately, or he would do like crazy things like go driving. So the relationship began to be pretty tumultuous at this point. He was also rolling out his first album since all of the trauma had happened the previous year of all of his family dying. So as part of his press tour, he goes on the Zach Sang show, which he talks about, you know, his dead mother, losing his brother, losing his dad, his accent. He even does a few like American accents on there.
Keep going. Sorry to interrupt you, man. Love you.
That was the strongest your accent's been since you've been in here.
Yeah.
You sounded pretty American until you just said sorry.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn it.
And it's important to note that Zach is one of Clinton Kane's best friends at this time. And Zach gives a lot of really good questions and like gives a lot of insight into Clinton's life. Like Clinton admits that he had to do the funeral through Zoom because of how bad COVID was, and you know, they were in Australia and he was in America and how difficult that was.
Did you go to Australia?
No, I haven't. No, we did the funeral through Zoom. 10 minutes into it, I just fucking closed my laptop, but I couldn't do it anymore. It was like too much. And that happened 3 times.
So the interview then comes out on YouTube in July 2022. Brooke, for the first time, posts a TikTok with him in it. Keep in mind, he has not been posting her on social media, but she was posting him. She posts him on TikTok, and a bunch of girls start commenting like, uh-oh, Brooke. Not him. Oh my god, not him. There are girls now in her TikTok comments saying that he cheated on his ex-girlfriend with 15 other girls. Meanwhile, Clinton was telling Brooke this entire time that his ex-girlfriend cheated on him with 15 other people. So Brooke confronts him and asks, did you cheat on your ex-girlfriend? In which he casually says, yeah, he was cheating on her the whole time of their relationship. And one of the girls that he happened to be cheating on his ex with, who we'll learn a little bit more about later, but her name is Mia. One of the girls that he cheated on Mia with was Brooke, because he was messaging Brooke nonstop for a year, sliding up into her DMs, offering to fly her out to Vegas when she was not into that because she was like, this is a stranger, I don't know this man. However, he claims that he was removed so long before the relationship even ended, and that's why he ended up cheating. Like, one of his songs, I Guess I'm in Love, is literally about this ex-girlfriend, and people use this for their wedding songs. Like, this is a very, very popular song of his, yet he cheated on her. Says how difficult it was because he was in Las Vegas and his ex-girlfriend was in New York City. The long distance was really difficult. Brooke somehow finds it in herself to forgive this man. They have a sleepover that night. The next morning, he is on the phone with his manager, begging for his manager to do anything to get the Zach Sang interview deleted off of YouTube. Brooke is kind of confused because she just has not seen the interview yet. So while he's on the phone with his manager being like, just do what you need to do to remove this video, she's going and reading the comments. Someone had left a comment saying, this is strange. I don't know where his accent came from. I know him. He's from Brunei. Brunei is a tiny nation on the island of Borneo in 2 distinct sections surrounded by Malaysia and the South China Sea. It's not Australia. This same person in that YouTube comment also claims to have seen his mom. Yet in the Zach Sang interview, he was saying his mom had been dead since the year prior, and how these songs were about his mom, about how he lost her due to religion, and how his relationship was so strained with her, how it was very difficult and a very tumultuous relationship, and now she was dead, and how that was very difficult for him to cope with. However, someone is now saying, like, you're not from Australia, you're from Brunei, and I just saw your mom. So Brooke decides to stage this whole fight to get out of there and leave. Then she decides to go and look up his mother online because he had mentioned her name before, which was probably a really bad thing to do if you're planning on lying about, you know, your parents' death, is to like give your actual parents' name. He decides to look up his mother. She has 2 Facebook accounts, and on both accounts, she has not posted since before the day that she was apparently, you know, supposed to die. He claimed that his mom was Norwegian and blonde, and Brooke is looking at his mother and she's like, this is not a Norwegian blonde-haired woman. He also told Brooke that he grew up very wealthy in Perth, and how he had nannies and maids, and how his mom would leave for months at a time because she had businesses even though she was a pastor. And she said that his life on Facebook looked nothing of the sort. That it seemed like their entire family was very, very close with each other. They did not seem to grow up where they would have nannies or maids. There was even a story of how she took him to Universal Studios, and he was like, wow, I've never been to Universal Studios, but yet she was on his mom's Facebook page and there were photos of them at Universal Studios. This house is in Brunei. This house is not in Australia, and his mom is Asian. His mom is not a white blonde woman. So she starts to pick up that her boyfriend's a liar. Her boyfriend of 3 months is a liar. Brooke said that it was very, very hard for her to come to terms with this, and she really, really, really struggled with all of this. She's also very open about her having BPD. I see the comments that Brooke gets, like, why would you stay with him? Why would you be with him? Like, why would you not leave him after the first lie or the first red flag? Like, until you are in a relationship with somebody who is so good at lying and so manipulative and so charming about it and so easily gaslights you, you don't even realize how shitty of a situation that you are in. And especially when you are struggling with your mental illness, which Brooke said at the time she was not medicated for, it can be so extremely difficult that you cannot judge someone for why they did not leave at this moment, why did they not leave at that moment, why did they not pick up on what you would have picked up on. Like, you cannot say anything until you are in that situation at that very moment. So we all like to think that we're like so much stronger than what we really are in the situation when it happens to us, because 9 times out of 10 you won't even realize that it's happening to you. So she gives Clinton the opportunity to tell the truth, and he proceeds to just lie for 5 minutes, and the only thing he decides to tell the truth about is that he is actually 22, and he is not 24. Brooke at this point doesn't even know if his mom is dead or alive at this point. Yeah, I know. Any words? So she goes to confront him, and he doesn't admit to anything, and he makes her feel so bad and says, like, why would he lie about that? And she feels really terrible for it. It's like, fuck, I am a shitty person. I literally just questioned my boyfriend about his dead mother and if she's actually dead. And of course she's dead. Of course she is. I'm a terrible person. Brooke decides to stay in the relationship with him, but loses a lot of trust, and they are always fighting. This is a similar situation that I was in, okay? Brooke brings up a time that he started crying and throwing a tantrum because she said that Kid Rock is hot. Shortly after, Brooke finds out that he's cheating on her with a lot of other people. A lot. Sending dick pics to other people, like, damn. And he breaks up with her because she accuses him of cheating. So Brooke decides to be like, why the fuck are you lying about your mom's death then? Let's talk about that again. Let's talk about your mother. Why are you faking the death of your family? And Brooke says, I know that you're lying about your mother being dead because I've been talking to your mother, which she admits she was not actually talking to his mother. But it got him to confess to her. Brooke in this whole saga has some very, very funny one-liners. Like, she said that, you know, all he talks about is like, I wish I could just talk. I can't even do an Australian accent. I wish I could just talk to my mother just one last time. Sorry. Every single video, it's my goal to just insult somebody with a different accent. It's usually the British. Now it's the Australians. I'm sorry. I wish I could just talk to her one last time, mate. And she's like, go fucking call her. And Brooke also brings up that the accent was not always on around her. Especially when they were fighting, she would sometimes record the conversations while they were fighting so that she could look back on it and realize just how abusive it